Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtike. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 20, the Dynasty of Puru, text 27 onwards. So we are studying about Bharat Maharaj, the son of Shakuntala and Dushmant. This is also strange that in Bhagavatam it says his name was Dushmant, but wherever I read it was Dushyant. I don't know why the difference. Text 27. Trishatam Hashiyashwan Badva Vismapayan Ripan Doshmantir Ati Ganmayam Devanam Guru Mayayo. Bharat, the son of Maharaj Dushman, found 3,300 horses for those sacrifices. 3,300 horses. And thus he had astonished all other kings. He surpassed even the opulence of the demigods, for he achieved the supreme spiritual master, Hari. One who achieves the lotus feet of the supreme personality of Godhead certainly surpasses all material wealth, even that of the demigods in the heavenly planets. Yam labdva chapram labham manate natikam tapa. The achievement of the lotus feet of the supreme personality of Godhead is the most exalted achievement in life. So Bharat Maharaj, being such a great devotee of the Lord, his opulence even has surpassed demigods. Mrigan Chucha Datta Krishna Hiranyan Parivritan Adat Karmani Mashnare Niyutani Chaturdasha. When Maharaj Bharat performed the sacrifice known as Mashnar, or a sacrifice in the place known as Mashnar, he gave in charity 14 lakhs of excellent elephants with white tusks and black bodies, completely covered with golden ornaments. 14 lakhs of elephants. I mean, that sounds like mythological story, but it's not. It's true. And completely covered with golden ornaments. Can't even imagine. Bharatasya mahatkarma na purve na pare nripa nava purneva prapasyanti bahubhyam tridivam yatha. As one cannot approach the heavenly planets simply by the strength of his arms, for who can touch the heavenly planets with his hands? One cannot imitate the wonderful activities of Maharaj Bharat. No one could perform such activities in the past, nor would anyone be able to do so in the future. Yeah, really, who can do this? Text 30. When Maharaj Bharat was on tour, he defeated or killed all the Kiratas, Hunas, Yavanas, Pondras, Kankas, Kasas, Shakas, and the kings who were opposed to the Vedic principles of Brahminical culture. Formerly, after conquering the demigods, all the demons had taken shelter in the lower planetary system known as Rasatal, and had brought all the wives and daughters of the demigods there also. Maharaj Bharat, however, rescued all those women along with their associates from the clutches of the demons, and he returned them to the demigods. Maharaj Bharat provided all necessities for his subjects, both on this earth and in the heavenly planets, for 27,000 years. He circulated his orders and distributed his soldiers in all directions. So 27,000 years he ruled. As a ruler, Sa Samrang Lokpalakyam Aishwaryam Adhiratishryam Chakram Chaskalitam Pranam Mrishetyu Upapararamha. As a ruler of the entire universe, Emperor Bharat had the opulences of a great kingdom and unconquerable soldiers. His sons and family had seemed to him to be his entire life. But finally, he thought of all this as an impediment to spiritual advancement, and therefore he ceased from enjoying it. So this is common theme amongst all the devotee kings. Maharaj Bharat had an incomparable opulence in sovereignty, soldiers, sons, daughters, and everything for material enjoyment. But when he realized that all such material opulences were useless for spiritual advancement, he retired from material enjoyment. The Vedic civilization enjoins that after a certain age, following in the footsteps of Maharaj Bharat, one should cease to enjoy material opulences and should take the order of Vanprastha. O King Parikshit, Maharaj Bharat had 3 pleasing wives who were daughters of the king of Vidarbha. When all 3 of them bore children who did not resemble the king, these wives thought that he would consider them unfaithful queens and reject them, and therefore they killed their own sons. That is strange. The king, his attempt for progeny frustrated in this way, performed a sacrifice named Marut Stoma to get a son. The demigods known as the Maruts, being fully satisfied with him, then presented him a son named Bharadwaj. Antarvatnyam bhratripatnyam mathunaya brihaspati pravratto varito garbham shaptva viryam apasvrija. When the demigod named Brihaspati was attracted by his brother's wife, Mamta, who at that time was pregnant, he desired to have sexual relations with her. Even Brihaspati, can we believe that? The son within her womb forbade this, but Brihaspati cursed him and forcibly discharged semen into the womb of Mamta. The sex impulse is so strong in this material world that even Brihaspati, who is supposed to be the priest of the demigods and a very learned scholar, wanted to have a sexual relationship with his brother's pregnant wife. This can happen even in the society of the higher demigods. So what to speak of human society? The sex impulse is so strong that it can agitate even a learned personality like Brihaspati. So strong. Tam tyaktu kamam mamatam bhartus tyaga vishankitam nam nirvachanam tasya shlokamenam surajagu. Mamta very much feared being forsaken by her husband for giving birth to an illegitimate son, and therefore she considered giving up the child. But then the demigods solved the problem by enunciating a name for the child. According to Vedic scriptures, whenever a child is born, there are some ceremonies known as Jat Karma and Namkaran, in which learned Brahmins, immediately after the birth of the child, make a horoscope according to the astrological calculations. But the child to which Mamta gave birth was begotten by Brihaspati irreligiously, for all the Mamta was a wife of Utathya. Brihaspati made her pregnant by force. So Utathya was Brihaspati's brother. Therefore, Brihaspati became Bharta. According to Vedic culture, a wife is considered the property of her husband, and a son born by illicit sex is called Dvaj. The common word still current in Hindu society for such a son is Dogla, which refers to a son not begotten by the husband of his mother. In such a situation, it is difficult to give the child a name according to proper regulative principles. Mamta therefore was perplexed, but the demigods gave the child the appropriate name Bharadwaj. Oh, okay. Which indicated that the child born illegitimately should be maintained by both Mamta and Brihaspati. Brihaspati said to Mamta, "You foolish woman, although this child was born from the wife of one man through the semen discharged by another, you should maintain him." Upon hearing this, Mamta replied, "O Brihaspati, you maintain." After speaking in this way, Brihaspati and Mamta both left. Thus the child was known as Bharadwaj. Although encouraged by the demigods to maintain the child, Mamta considered him useless because of his illicit birth, and therefore she left him. Consequently, the demigods, known as the Maruts, maintained the child. And when Maharaj Bharat was disappointed disappointed for want of a child, this child was given to him as his son. From this verse, it is understood that those who are rejected from the higher planetary system are given a chance to take birth in the most exalted families on this planet Earth. But can we even imagine all this stuff that was going on or that happened in heaven? Brihaspati with his brother's wife and this and that. It's crazy. The whole material world is crazy. Actually, that's all it is. So all we have to do is just get out of here. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the 9th canto, 20th chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Dynasty of Kuru. Chapter 21, The Dynasty of Bharat. Shri Shukuvacha. Vitathasya Sutanamanyur Brihat Kshatro Jayastataha Mahavirya Naro Gargaha Sankritustu Naratmajaha. Shukdev Goswami said, because Bharadwaj was delivered by the Marut demigods, he was known as Vitat. The son of Vitat was Manyu, and from Manyu came 5 sons, Brihat Kshatra, Jay, Mahavirya, Nar, and Garga. Of these 5, the one known as Nara had a son named Sankriti. O Maharaj Parikshit, descendant of Pandu, Sankriti had 2 sons named Guru and Rantidev. Rantidev is famous in both this world and the next, for he is glorified not only in human society, but also in the society of the demigods. So wonderful, wonderful story of Rantidev. Rantidev never endeavored to earn anything. He would enjoy whatever he got by the arrangement of providence. But when guests came, he would give them everything. Thus he underwent considerable suffering along with the members of his family. Indeed, he and his family members shivered for want of food and water. Yet Rantidev always remained sober. Once after fasting for 48 days, not 48 hours, 48 days, and the whole family fasted. In the morning, Rantidev received some water and some foodstuffs made with milk and ghee. But when he and his family were about to eat, a Brahmin guest arrived. And just see this in the shloka, it said, he and his family members shivered for want of food and water. Just so severe austerities they were. And they were family members living in the house, not in the Himalayas. And 48 days. And when he was received some water and some foodstuffs, a Brahmin guest arrived. Tasmai samvyabhajat sovannam adritya shuddhyanvita harim sarvatra sampashyan sabhaktva prayayo dvijaha. Because Rantidev perceived the presence of the Supreme Godhead everywhere, and in every living entity, he received the guest with faith and respect and gave him a share of the food. The Brahmin guest ate his share and then went away. Rantidev perceived the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living being, but he never thought that because the Supreme Lord is present in every living being must be God. He did not think like that. He said, God is there as Paramatma in every living being. So he served everybody properly. Nor did he distinguish between one living being and another. He perceived the presence of the Lord both in the Brahman and the Chandala. This is a true vision of equality, as confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita. Vidya Vinay Sampanne. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and a gentle Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. A Pandit or learned person perceives the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living being. Therefore, although it has now become fashionable to give preference to the so-called Daridra Narayan or poor Narayan, Rantidev had no reason to give preference to any one person. The idea that because Narayan is present in the heart of one who is Daridra or poor, the poor man should be called Daridra Narayan is a wrong conception. By such logic, because the Lord is present in the heart of dogs and hogs, the dogs and hogs would also be Narayan. One should not mistakenly think that Rantidev subscribed to this view. Rather, he saw everyone as part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not that everyone is the Supreme Godhead. Everyone is part of Supreme. Such a theory which is propounded by the Mayavad philosophy is always misleading. And Rantidev would never have accepted it. So he treated everybody as part and parcel of the Lord because he saw Krishna's presence in everybody. Athanyo bhokshya manasya vibhaktasya mahipate vibhaktam vibhajat tasmay vrishlaya harim smaran. Thereafter, having divided the remaining food with his relatives, Rantidev was just about to eat his own share when a Shudra guest arrived. Seeing the Shudra in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, King Rantidev gave him also a share of the food. Because King Rantidev saw everyone as part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he never distinguished between the Brahman and the Shudra, the poor and the rich. Such equal vision is called Samdarshina. One who has actually realized that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in everyone's heart and that every living being is part of the Lord does not make any distinction between the Brahman and the Shudra, the poor, Daridra, and the rich, Dhani. Such a person sees all living beings equally and treats them equally without discrimination. But treating them equally or treating every living entity equally doesn't mean that one starts embracing a tiger or a snake. Oh, he's also, the Supreme Lord is here in him also. He's there, but we have to see who we can do what. And when the Shudra went away, another guest arrived, surrounded by dogs. And he said, "Oh, king, I and my company of dogs are very hungry. Please give us something to eat." With great respect, King Rantidev offered the balance of the food to the dogs and the master of the dogs who had come as guests. The king offered them all respects and obeisances. Thereafter, only the drinking water remained. And there was only enough to satisfy one person. But when the king was just about to drink it, a Chandal appeared and said, "O king, although I am low born, only kindly give me some drinking water." Aggrieved at hearing the pitiable words of the poor, fatigued Chandal, Maharaj Rantidev spoke the following nectarian words. Maharaj Rantidev's words were like Amrit or nectar, and therefore, aside from rendering bodily service to an aggrieved person by his words alone, the king could save the life of anyone who might hear him. So Maharaj Rantidev says, "Na kame aham gatim ishvarat param mashtardhi yuktam punarbhavam artim prapadde akhil dehe bhajam antastito yena bhavanti dukha." I do not pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the 8 perfections of mystic yoga, nor for salvation from repeated birth and death. I want only to stay among all the living entities and suffer all distresses on their behalf so that they may be freed from suffering. And this he wasn't saying just to be famous so that everybody would glorify. Oh, see, Maharaj Rantidev is so great and this and that. No, this was coming from his realizations, from the bottom of his heart, he was saying. Purport. Vasudev Datta made a similar statement to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, requesting the Lord to liberate all living entities in his presence. Vasudev Datta submitted that if they were allowed to be liberated, he himself would take all their sinful reactions and suffer personally so that the Lord might deliver them. A Vaishnava is therefore described as being paradukha dukhi, very much aggrieved by the sufferings of others. As such, a Vaishnava engages in activities for the real welfare of human society. So Vaishnava is paradukha dukhi. He is aggrieved, very much aggrieved by the sufferings of others. He doesn't put anybody in suffering. and he doesn't enjoy anybody in suffering. This is Vaishnava. And when Prabhupada mentioned about Vasudeva Datta, so when we study Chaitanya Charitamrita, we'll come to this story. And he requested Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that let me suffer the sinful reactions of all the living entities, and please, you liberate them. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Vasudev, you're like Prahlad Maharaj. And by your mercy, I liberate all the living entities. So then the question arose, if Mahaprabhu liberated all the living entities, not just the human beings, not only Hindus, not only those living in India, not only those living in Bengal at that time, all living entities of the whole universe. What's so difficult for Mahaprabhu? And he said, Vasudev, I'm sold to you. You can sell me to anybody. I'm just your property. So then the question arose, if Mahaprabhu liberated everybody, so how come there are still living entities in this universe? Mahaprabhu liberated everybody 500 years ago. But then it was explained, well, there are unlimited living entities all over material world. So this universe was again filled up with the living entities. So we were not that fortunate that we could be liberated, and we are still here. By offering my water to maintain the life of this poor Chandal who is struggling to live, I have been freed from all hunger, thirst, fatigue, trembling of the body, moroseness, distress, lamentation, and illusion. Having spoken thus, King Rantidev, although on the verge of death because of thirst, gave his own portion of water to the Chandal without hesitation. For the king was naturally very kind and sober. And then what happened? See, testing is always there, especially for devotees. More exalted devotees means more severe test. Demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, who can satisfy all materially ambitious men by giving them the rewards they desire, then manifested their own identities before King Rantidev. For it was they who had presented themselves as Brahman, Shudra, Chandal, and so on. Savai tebhyo namaskritya nesango vigat spriha vasudeve bhagavati bhaktya chakre manaha. King Rantidev had no ambition to enjoy material benefits from the demigods. He offered them obeisances, but because he was factually attached to Lord Vishnu Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he fixed his mind at Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung, Anya Devashreya Nai Tomare Kahinu Bhai, Hey Bhakti Paramakara. If one wants to become a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, one should not hanker to take benedictions from the demigods. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Kama Estesta Hritajnana. Those befooled by the illusion of the material energy worship gods other than the Supreme Personality of God. Therefore, although Rantidev was personally able to see Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, he did not hanker to take material benefits from them. Rather, he fixed his mind upon Lord Vasudeva and rendered devotion service unto him. This is a sign of a pure devotee, whose heart is not adulterated by material desires, means no contamination of material desires. Ishvaralambanam chittam kurvatto ananya radhasa maya gunamayi rajan sapnavat prataliyat. O Maharaj Parikshit, because King Rantidev was a pure devotee, always Krishna conscious and free from all material desires, the Lord's illusory energy, Maya, could not exhibit herself before him. On the contrary, for him, Maya entirely vanished, exactly like a dream. As it is said, Krishna Suryasama Maya hai. Just as there is no chance that darkness can exist in the sunshine, in a pure Krishna conscious person, there can be no existence of Maya. The Lord himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Devi hi esha gunamaya. This divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. If one wants to be free from the influence of Maya, the illusory energy, one must become Krishna conscious and always keep Krishna prominent within the core of his heart. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord advises that one always think of him, manmana bhav madhubhakto. In this way, by always being Krishna minded or Krishna conscious, one can surpass the influence of Maya. Because Rantidev was Krishna conscious, he was not under the influence of the illusory energy. The word Swapnavat is significant in this connection, because in this material world, the mind is absorbed in materialistic activities. When one is asleep, many contradictory activities appear in one's dreams. When one awakens, however, these activities automatically merge into the mind. Similarly, as long as one is under the influence of the material energy, he makes many plans and schemes. But when one is Krishna conscious, such dream-like plans automatically disappear. So all these plans under the influence of Maya, they're like dreams. They have no factual existence. Factual existence in terms, if we have a house, if we dream of having a car or a girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, whatever, we get it. But how long does that last? It's not eternal. It's not going to be there forever. It's going to go away very soon. But Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's service, Krishna's Dham, that is eternal. And our relationship with him is eternal. Our enjoyment in serving him is eternal. So that's what we should look for, not just some illusory pleasures. So that's what King Rantidev did. Even though, after 48 days of fasting, no matter what he wanted to eat, somebody was there to take it away. Of course, the demigods were testing him. But it's a big test. It's a very big test. But for devotees, the tests will be there. They will definitely be there. So we just have to take shelter of holy name, take shelter of Krishna and Prabhupada's books, and the tests will come and go. It will definitely happen, and we'll pass with flying colors. Okay, so we'll stop there. See anybody has any questions or comments? Okay, just an announcement that this Saturday, I'm starting a class on Bhagavad Gita for devotees here in Washington, D.C. So it'll be every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's the time we have fixed so far. So 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Washington time. In India, it will be for right now 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. So if somebody wants to join, please go ahead, join. Okay, I'll send you the link also. Okay. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.